Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Man, the scoreboard at the end said 20 points, but our eyes told us it was an absolute embarrassment. More like it felt like a game that they should have lost by 40. At one point, they were down 40. Cavs lose to Oklahoma City last night in a little bit of a revenge game for the Thunder, who now are tied with the Cavs for the best record in the NBA. If you're looking for in-depth analysis on what went wrong, we talked about it on the YouTube show. There were a lot of things. We brought up Donovan Mitchell. Yep. Maybe might be hurt, lacking some explosiveness, not finishing at the rim.
Same right now.
Didn't look the same. Hasn't really for the last week or so. The other thing that we should talk about is Cam Johnson. We've been asking, do they need to add a piece to make a serious, deep playoff run? Cam Johnson, it's been reported that the Cavs are interested in trying to work a deal with the Nets to bring him over. I think our takeaway in the first show today was, how do you get him here?
And that's the question that we need, like Brian Windhorst for, and these guys who know every single detail of the cap and how these deals can get made. If they can, yes, I'm all for it. And like earlier on in the season, I was like, yeah, I don't know if we need to make changes because the team's got good chemistry. I agree with one of the super chatters earlier that I don't care about that. This team can use all the reinforcements they need, or they can get, I should say, because at some point someone's going to get hurt.
Sure.
Not everyone's going to be healthy. It's a long season. They're going to play 82 games when this thing's all said and done, and we're not even. Are we halfway through? Right about.
Just about the 40 game mark. But in relation to that, Dustin, Brian Windhorst, who you mentioned a second ago, did go on ESPN radio earlier this week and said he's had multiple agents tell me that their players want to play in Cleveland. That could mean Cam Johnson, could mean someone else. But when you hear a rumor like that, guys, Cleveland obviously not a historical free agent destination in any sport. Is that just lip service, or do you think that may actually be the changing of the tide and Cleveland could be a more attractive destination for guys on the trade block, buyout candidates, et cetera?
Sure. Well, listen, dude,
Cleveland is cool again, man.
Cleveland's, when you are in a buyout market, you're a veteran. Chances are, if you're asking for a trade, or like Cam Johnson is, or they're making a rebuild, you're in a rebuild. You're playing on a bad team, and at this point in your career, you done already made money. So now, what's the next thing on the chopping block is to play for a team. And the Cavs play the way that other people want to play. You look at a lot of veterans and they say, why do they choose to play overseas rather than playing over here if they got equal offers? And they say, I like playing overseas because they play the game the right way. We move the ball. It's a lot of man movement, ball movement, cutting, screening, doing different things like that. Teams in the NBA, first of all, have hierarchies in politics. So I'm paying this guy a bunch of money, he's getting all the shots. I'm paying this guy, guess what? He's going to get minutes over you. So guys want to come here because they play the right way. They got a great team. They got a great coach. They got great chemistry. And they've been getting the brakes beat off them by the Cavs. And when you watch another team blow people's doors off, they're like, oh, I would love to be over there with those guys. So I do think there's something to be said for that, Jay.
Well, they got a chance to win a title.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys late in their career that have made their money, made all-star teams and whatnot, they're looking, okay, what's missing from my resume? What's missing? What do I need? And guys want rings.
Well, and the other thing, too, Jay, is that the league doesn't have a cheat code right now. Like, you can't just go play with LeBron and guarantee yourself a title. Right. We've seen guys try to do that in the past, and some guys it worked out for. Now there's no hey, that guy can win no matter what.
Right.
As long as he's at the top of his game. There's no player like that in the league right now. So the Cavs are a team that I think people will start to talk about as hey, they can win a title. They legitimately can be a championship caliber team because there's really no favorite.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I do think. Now, your initial question, Mike, is it just lip service or is it a real thing? Right now, it's just lip service.
Yeah.
Guys can tell their agents, hey, you know what? If something comes up with Cleveland, I'd put Cleveland on my list. Now, there's levels to this. Are guys actually going to their agent saying, I don't care what you have to do, get a deal done to get me to Cleveland? No. So far, it hasn't. This discussion hasn't. It hasn't bore any fruit. We don't know of anybody that is here because they've specifically told their agent that's where I want to go. Right. So if here at the deadline or maybe next season before the start of the season, we hear that there's a guy or two that says, get me to Cleveland, and he ends up here, then it means something. Right now, it's just conversation. And it's interesting because Cleveland once upon a time was a destination with Kevin Love, and after LeBron came back the second time. You had guys, a lot of guys later in their career that said, I'll do that. I'll go there.
J.R. Smith, Mon Shumpert was part of that deal. I think also they got to win a championship or get to the finals. If they do that, that raises the likelihood somebody will say, get me to Cleveland.
Yeah, all right. I think we're all in agreement that we're not pushing any panic buttons over last night, but it is part of a little bit of a trend here. It's 2 losses in 3 games. That's a little disturbing. It's to 2 different teams that are kind of built the same way. And we talked in the YouTube show, and if you want to check this out, go back and watch. Mike pointed out what could be the blueprint to beat this Cavs team, at least what they've used so far in their losses this season.